bunch of shit.
Yeah, that's how plumbing works. Okay.
That's actually it's a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
Like,
that's bad.
that's
No plumber likes that. Well, you know what? My buddy Dave, he said that's my gravy, and you know why? And it was funny because you know how Dave was. Whenever there was an overflow, you know, sewage, like we went to this one, I think it was CVS or something like that, one of those type of places, and he called me up, and I went with him at night, and the whole bathroom. It's like a commercial bathroom, obviously, right? You know, toilets and stuff, all over the floors, sewage, everything, coming up the floor drains, coming everything. So he says, "Here, take a piece of gum." And I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you want to keep your mouth closed." He goes, "Because I always, when I chew gum, I keep my mouth closed."
Okay.
And he goes, "You don't want to be breathing that stuff in." He said, "This is our gravy." That's what he used to say. Yeah.
You can Dave, man. That guy was cool.
Jeez. Mike told me a joke a few days ago. He said, how do you tell the difference between an HVAC tech and a plumber? And of course the question was what? And he said, yeah. And he said, if you put them both in a pot of shit and you swing a 2x4 at him, the plumber would duck.
The HVAC takes just gets smacked in the head.
I'll take it, man.
The plumber will duck into the pool of crap.
Shit, yeah, he's used to it. Doesn't bother me.
I saw a video back a while ago, years ago. How they had it was in like a country, like I'm going to say it's like an Asian country that they don't have all the regular plumbing, and they actually had these pools, like cesspools of like crap that would get clogged, and they would actually have guys that would dive in that crap.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and it was like, oh my god, these guys, that's what they did. That's the plumber.
Job?
That's the plumber's job, and they had to, by their hands, they had to unclog
They wear suits, but
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
still.
it's
The
still
thought-
you're literally diving in
you're
shit.
literally diving in shit.
No thanks.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
That's crazy. I seen that.
Don't want to be that plumber.
That should be on the dirty job show.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That
micro.
one qualifies.
That's the worst.
That's the worst, man. What else can you think of that's worse than that?
You seen that movie, Slumdog Millionaire?
Yeah.
You guys ever,
that was a
remember
good
that when
movie.
they're little kids and
Yeah.
their toilets are right by the little, like a river,
Yeah.
and they just squat down and poop, and then the
Yeah.
kid sees a celebrity come by, and he jumps into the pile of poop so he can get the signature from the actor. He's like, ah, and it comes out full of crap. Oh, it's
man.
disgusting. It's a good movie, but that's disgusting.
All right, we got a lot of stuff going on today. I know that Iggy already kind of knows what he's got going. The biggest thing that I'm going to bring up and have to have everybody else watch this again, I guess, because no one's here. But the invoices is still an issue. You know, I called someone yesterday and said, hey, I've got 2 invoices, and I can see that they don't have PO numbers on them, they don't have a job name on them, they don't have anything on them. You obviously didn't turn them in, because when Tina and I, Tina's going through and inputting this stuff, and then, you know, I do a part, she does a part, but when we get to the end of the week or whatever, we're looking at all the invoices that we're missing. Because we can see what we're missing, especially from our bank account. Our bank account says we spent this much money, this is what we spent it on. Here's where are the invoices? Well, so then it says, okay, we paid John Stone, we paid AC Pro, whoever, and we don't have that invoice. We didn't get it turned in with payroll, we didn't get it turned in the slot, it didn't get turned in at all. So we have to call them, and then they send us the invoice, and then we have to look at what it is, the date, maybe who the tech was, try to figure out what it is. And so yesterday there was 2 of them from one particular technician. I called the technician on it, and he goes, this is what was said to me, and I'm just throwing this out to you guys, you know, it kind of blew me away. Well, it should be in your system, that's your guys' problem.
The invoice, like the.
Well, there's no PO number on it, wasn't written on there, they didn't type it in, didn't have a name on there, nothing.
So what do they do when they get the part?
Well, they ordered the part, I guess they got the part from Johnstone. Johnstone didn't require a PO. So they just basically ordered the part, kept their invoice, left it in the truck, whatever they did, it didn't get turned in. But now it's our problem because,
Oh, man.
you know, yeah, it's my problem, all right, so I'm gonna take care of that. But, you know, that individual is now gonna have a conversation with me in the office he's not gonna like, because I'm not gonna put up with that crap. Number one, it's insubordination. Number two, it's your responsibility, and I've made it very clear several times, and I'm making it clear again. It's your responsibility. If they don't put it in their system and it's not on the invoice, they don't type it in, because AC Pro, Ferguson, all those guys normally do that. They ask for it, they're used to it. Then you need to write it on there. At least the job name.
Yeah.
So I know where the stuff goes, because then I go in and I look into the job. Well, the reason we couldn't find it in the PO, the other way we can find it in the system, in Service Titan, so say for an example, you put in a wrong dollar amount. Okay, $1,679 instead of $1,649, for an example.
You have the invoice.
So if I have the total of that invoice from Johnstone, I don't have the invoice, I can go into Service Titan and see, maybe they did put the PO in, I just don't have a copy of the invoice. I can get a copy of the invoice, that's no big deal, and I know where it goes. So if I put in the exact amount of whatever the invoice is supposed to be, and it matches, then I know, okay, hey, they at least put it in there, so when it comes to payroll and I pay you guys and all that, it's all correct. But if you put the wrong dollar amount in there, it doesn't show up in Service Titan, so I don't even know where to look. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to have that PO number or name of the job on the invoice, so we can match everything up. Because we pay you guys every week.
Yeah.
If I have something from last week, because that's usually when I find out about not having an invoice, is the next week, which means payroll's already being done. You know, I did payroll on Monday, and all of those invoices have to be in from the previous week into the system for me to be able to pay you guys properly. So I have no qualms about taking money out. If you missed an invoice and didn't put it in, and now you don't make a lot of money this week because it was a slow week, too bad. I'm taking that money out. If I gotta do it over 2 weeks, I'll take it out, but I'm taking that money back if you didn't have it taken out previously. So that has to be done. It's required, it's part of your job, period.
Let's say for certain jobs such as a tune-up, and we needed to purchase just parts for the job, like tape or the water pump, for example. Would that require
Okay,
PO
so
for the job?
if you get a purchase order, you still have to get a purchase order for everything. The purchase order it can be for the shop. I don't care meaning if it's something for the shop or material for your truck, it can be truck stock. Of course, you let me know, hey Alan, you called me yesterday, hey Alan, I need some tape. If that's truck stock and that's gonna be used over several jobs, typically what we do on an HPC, obviously I'm not charging you for parts on an HPC, right? But if there's work, an HPC typically is just a standard changing out the filter, checking the system, right? You're not doing any additional work.
Right.
So if you need tape for a job, for an example, and you're getting money for the job, you put that on the job. Now that tape stays on your truck, and then now the next jobs you use it, you already paid for the tape. So you don't pay for it a second time or a third time. I mean, you're gonna use it over and over and over until you run out. It's gonna take you a lot of jobs, right? So typically on that kind of stuff, you put it on one job and then you basically have free materials for the rest of the jobs until it's gone.
Okay.
Okay? That's the way you do it. So there is truck stock on certain things, because HPCs, if you're doing filters in particular, that's probably the most common thing. You still put the PO in, and in the notes, you're gonna put $5.83 for the filter. Because I'm not charging you, when you do an HPC, I don't charge you for the filter, because that's part of the service. If there's something else you do, you should be charging for it. Got a safety switch or something else that you've got to replace. That's a charge. And then you're basically getting, when I do your payroll, you get paid two different ways. HPC, you're getting paid your $15 an hour, because we're not making money on that. The goal in the HPC is for you to sell something that needs to be done. Code upgrades, whatever. Even if it's taping the ductwork. If you got to spend an hour there, we're going to charge for your time. Very little material, but we're going to charge them. So that's what you would charge for. And now your materials would be the tape on that job, and maybe it's $200. I'm just throwing a number out for whatever work you had to do, depending on how much you had to tape up and redo, right? That part of the job you get paid on your service volume. So it's going to be that $200 minus your $12 in parts, you know what I mean, that gets marked up, and then you get your percentage on that, in addition to the HPC.
Gotcha.
So you worked 2 hours on the job maybe, 1 hour for HPC, 1 hour for everything else, right? For an example. That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was my biggest thing today is invoices.
On that account, I'm just throwing it out there, is there no way you guys can call the people you guys buy the parts from and say, hey, if my guys go there, they need.
We have.
And they don't put it on the computer, like, they need to give you one regardless?
See, the thing is, you know, you're telling, it's not their policy, it's ours.
Right.
So Ferguson is good at it, and AC Pro is good at it. Home Depot, usually they do it too, because, you know, they always ask, do you have a PO number every time, even if you don't.
Yeah.
But you don't have to give them anything, just say, no PO number.
Well, when you're on the phone, would you say, hey, did they give you a PO? No.
Yeah, we do that,
Oh.
usually, but it doesn't matter, but sometimes those guys will buy something, and we pay for it, and they say, yeah, we gave them a PO number, and it says truck, or stock, or it says
Or their
some
name.
weird name that we don't even recognize,
Right, okay.
and then we're trying to figure it out, especially if it's not spelled right. We had one that was some name, and I had to tell somebody, I said, hey, what is this? And they go, oh, that's, and they told me what it was. And Kevin did one the other day, I asked him, who's this? Because he did one with some name, but I didn't recognize the name, but it was a customer's name. So at least he knew what it was. So if there's a name on there, at least we can, all right, what is this?
Right.
Who is this?
Gotcha.
We can figure it out, but, you know, that's the least you guys gotta do. You gotta do something so we can identify it, and you have to turn them in. That's the biggest thing, all right?
Good.
All right, so I think, Beatrice, you're gonna go with Iggy today,
Okay.
okay? And,
And I got the stuff from Home Depot right now for Renard, so it's at least ready. I
Alright.
just wanted to get that out the way.
cool. Anything else?
Yeah, just a suggestion, just throwing it out there. So when we don't get these receipts, there's quite a bit of time that's spent in the office. It's usually two people.
Yeah.
It's Alan and Tina trying to figure out where that piece of paper goes and who to assign it to. And it's typically a $15 invoice,
Yeah.
and we spend in labor at least that much, you know, trying to figure out where it goes. So my suggestion is, if we have to keep doing that, then maybe we should start charging for it. Maybe it should just be applied to the job, because, you know, when there's, you know, it's a discipline. When you start paying the price that we're paying right now, I'm paying for it right now. I mean, so it's coming out of my pocket, and I don't like it. When I hear these things, and I hear them over and over and over again. And so if you can't change the behavior, then you charge for the behavior, you know, because it's costing you. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not making a rule right here and now, but I think that if it persists, then we should have a policy for that.
Sure.
And guys, I mean, I try to make it as easy as possible, and not, you know, I don't try to be a hard ass about everything. But there's certain things that when it makes my job harder, and Tina gets stressed about it, because trust me, when we're trying to balance things and they don't balance, and we can't figure out why, and now we're missing invoices, we don't know where it goes,
Yeah.
and we're trying to pay payroll, and it slows everything down. It's hard for us. Okay, who do I call? I got all
Yeah.
these, you know, I got 8 techs out there, and, you know, plus their helpers who are buying parts. The rule for helpers, if you guys buy parts, you give it to the tech, whoever's responsible for that job. If it's Iggy's job and he's getting service volume, he's telling you what parts to go get, you give it to him, he's responsible then to turn it in. But you gotta make sure, Iggy, if you tell Beatrice to go get you parts, she brings you the invoice
Yeah.
along with the parts.
Yeah.
And you just make sure that your PO's on there, the name on there, whatever, so we know that it's taken care of. And that goes for anybody and everybody, yeah.
I even, I explained to everybody, I made boxes for them, like outside, for them to use, like as a tool, like in case they come and they're, you know, like 4 PM and they have all this paperwork to them, to put them with their names, so that's like a tool. Cause I've been hearing all this stuff too, but like we're doing, like you said, we're all trying to help out and stuff, and
Right.
we're trying, but like you said, I guess we're gonna have to get charge these guys, right?
So next week, well, actually this week, this full week of, we're ending on the 20th, yeah. So, or whatever date is on Sunday is our last, this week. This is the last payroll for TriNet. And then so next week when we start, that week will be paid in January, but that's gonna be basically through the checks, just kind of I'm keeping you guys in the loop. It's every day that I talk to you guys so you know what's going on. So this is the last week on TriNet, and then we're gonna be swapping over, okay? And I have a meeting this morning in a few minutes with a company that's gonna help me with some other things, but everything else is going good. Payroll has to be turned in. We kind of talked about this a couple of times. Monday by 10 a.m. And even though we're gonna be doing payroll ourselves, if you're sick on Monday, I can get it by Tuesday by 10 a.m. That's the only exception that I'm gonna allow. If something, or if you're not able to get here first thing Monday morning because of that, because when the new payroll, that'll go till Tuesday. After that, I'm estimating hours, and that's it. If I think you worked 40 hours, you get $15 an hour at 40 hours. I don't care how much money you made in commission, we'll make it up the next time when you turn everything in. So,
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that's better.
That seems fair.
that's how it's gonna have to work. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all I got.